answer satisfy your query?
Ma'am, due to time constraints, we will not be taking any more questions. If you
All
guys
right.
have more questions, please write it in the chat box. We'll, maybe ma'am can answer to you directly and personally. Moving
Thank you,
on.
Ananya. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
ma'am.
And thank you, dear children, for being so patiently asking questions and listening to the presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Moving on to the next session, we have Miss Vijaya Madan, PGT Biology, Dial Singh Public School. Miss Vijaya will be talking about biology. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vijaya Madan from Dial Singh Public School, Sector 7, Karnal. I really feel privileged and honored to share this platform with distinguished people to address young minds and to guide you about the board pattern and how to score good marks in exams. Because I strongly feel that scoring marks is an art. From my experience of teaching board classes and evaluation of board papers, I have found that sometimes students who are really bright are not able to score as desired, as they deserve. And sometimes an average student whose paper presentation is better is able to score more than expected. So that's why I believe that scoring marks is an art. I'm here today to guide you about how to attempt the paper and score desired marks in your exams. My focus today will be on how to present your paper. First of all, the marking scheme. I'm 100% sure that you all are aware about the marking scheme, but just to recapitulate, chapter number 8 and 10 from Biology in Human Welfare, they are of 14 marks. Chapter 11 and 12 from Biotechnology and its application carries 11 marks. Chapter 13 and 15 from Ecology and Environment, they are of 10 marks. The question paper is divided into 3 sections. Section A, B, and C. Section A carries 6 questions of 2 marks each. In section B, there are 6 questions of 3 marks each. And section C consists of only 1 question of 5 marks, which will be a case study based question, where you will be given a comprehension passage, but it is not necessary that you will find the answers from the passage itself. For this, you have to go through the understanding of the concept, and there will be an internal choice in one of the 2 marks question and one of the 3 marks question, and in case study also. Now, do's and don'ts while preparing and attempting the exams. First is pen and paper. Pen and paper is a must while studying. Make it a habit to carry a pen even if you are reading a storybook, a magazine, or a newspaper, because most of the time you come across useful piece of information. So I'll request the students attending this webinar to keep a pen, paper, and NCERT biology handy with them. Next is 100% attempt. Never leave your questions unattempted. You should attempt all the questions. Sometimes we don't attempt a question as we are not sure about its answer. So rather than leaving it unattempted, you must write anything relevant to the topic, because scoring even 1 or 2 marks, it is always better than scoring nothing. Next,
sorry to disturb you, ma'am. Your slides are not visible.
We are checking. Now is it
Your slides are not visible to us, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Now it is visible.
Okay,
it is better now.
Thank you, ma'am. One should focus on NCERT. Each and every word in NCERT is important. including the diagrams, labeling of the diagram, and even what is written below the diagram. Sometimes we leave certain diagrams which we feel are not so important, but they are actually equally important. For example, look at this particular slide from page number 141 of your NCERT, showing skulls, which are not labeled. But if we look at the bottom, we can see there is a difference in the skull type. First skull is of adult modern human being. Second skull is of baby chimpanzee, and third skull is of adult chimpanzee. So in your exam, you can be asked to identify the skull type. Any one, any two, or all the three skulls can be given and asked. Here is another picture, again from NCERT page number 221, showing different types of forest. And if you see the headings at the base of the diagram, we can see that it shows major biomes in India. A is tropical rainforest, B shows deciduous forest, C shows desert, and the figure D represents sea coast. I have seen that children ignore such small information, which can also be asked in exams. You may not be asked to draw these diagrams, but the information given alongside can be asked. Again, this diagram, I find this diagram on page number 220 of NCERT a little tricky. In such a diagram, you can even be asked to label even along what is mentioned x-axis and what is mentioned along the y-axis. You can see mean annual precipitation and mean annual temperature mentioned along x and y axis respectively, and you should remember the units in which this precipitation and temperature is measured. Now the presentation of the answers, which matters a lot, and points to note down here are, for the presentation or for making my concept clear, I have deliberately taken up the original answer sheets as the examples, just to give you the first-hand experience of what students actually do in exams, and you can learn what you should avoid. Now you can see, by leaving a gap of 2-3 lines between the answers, it gives a better appearance. And if the answers, they are written without a gap, there are chances that it may go unmarked or unnoticed. Write in points. Always try to write your answer in points and avoid writing paragraphs. What is the reason? Teacher will have to search for the correct words from the paragraph, whereas they are clearly visible when written in points. Mark the answer numbers correctly. Instead of writing any answer number, write in words ANS, answer number this. As if you write just the number 1, 2, or 3, it may be considered as continuation of the previous answer points. Try to complete the answer on same page. While writing the answer sheet, if you are left with only 3 or 4 lines on your page and you have to start with the next answer, then it is always better to start your answer from the next page. Instead of writing 1 point on one sheet and other points on the next sheet, you should always try to write all the points on the same page. For example, in this slide, you can see that 1 point is written on one page and the remaining points are written on the turnover page. So this should be avoided. Now, next is attempt subparts of a question separately. If a question has subparts, means it is asked as part A, part B, and part C, then you should attempt your answer also in subparts, mentioning A, B, and C rather than writing it in a paragraph. It would be better if you leave 1 or 2 lines between the subparts also. Reason, so that each and every part of the answer can be mentioned. And sometime in the question it is given, it is asked that give 2 examples also. So those examples also should be mentioned separately. Now, if we present our answer using flowcharts and tabular forms, it becomes easier to learn, easier to remember, and easier for the examiner to check. And it also makes your answer sheet more impressive. For example, in this example from page number 263 of NCERT, in the last paragraph, list of extinct species is given from different countries. And if you make a table of them, and it will become easy to learn and recall during the exam instead of writing it in a paragraph. Always highlight the number. If you have learned various numerals, especially in chapter biodiversity and its conservation, like the number of extinct species, the number of biosphere reserves, the number of wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, then these should be clearly displayed and presented in your answer sheet. There may be different data in different reference books, but to avoid any ambiguity, always stick to the NCERT data. Next is diagrams. Diagrams are the most important in biology. And while drawing the diagram, we should keep following points in mind. One diagram should be drawn on 1 page. I repeat, one diagram should be drawn on 1 page, and you should leave 3 to 4 lines above and 3 to 4 lines below the diagram. Then labeling should be done on both the sides of the diagram, and always mention below the diagram figures showing what. Like this figure shows, the first figure is showing transmission of nerve impulse at synapse. Second figure shows liver, pancreas and their ducts. And this will help your diagram look more presentable and neat, even if you are not good at drawing the diagrams. And I would like to clear my point through these slides. You can see we have drawn 10% log on complete page. This improves the neatness of the diagram. And you can also see the impact if we follow the said points. And suppose if you are left with very less time in the exam, either you can draw the diagram or you can write the answer. Then always prefer drawing the diagram, and you can write the important points along with the labeling. Like in this diagram, human salivary glands, the types of the glands, along with the types, we have mentioned the important points also in case of the shortage of the time. If a diagram has, if an answer has a diagram, but it is not asked in the question, then draw the diagram also, even you are asked or not. But when the question says draw the well-labeled diagram of a particular topic, then only draw the diagram and no explanation is required. I repeat, if the answer has a diagram, but it is not asked, even then you have to draw the diagram. But if the question says draw a well-labeled diagram of this topic, then you have to draw the diagram and no explanation is required. Now, what should we avoid while attempting the question paper? Don't evaluate yourself. Never ever evaluate yourself. If you have written any answer and you are doubtful whether it is correct or incorrect, leave it to the examiner to decide. Don't put a cross like this. Your whole answer or few points, they may be correct and they may help you fetch more marks. Instead, you can put a little cross over the answer Answer number as shown rather than crossing the whole answer. Avoid cuttings, as cuttings give a bad impression. Even if you have to cut, put a single line over that word, which can get overlooked also. Avoid writing unmarked points. Suppose you know that an answer has 6 points, but at that moment, you remember only 3 or 4. Just write them. Don't leave unmarked numbers, as that gives a sort of reminder to the examiner that you have forgotten the points.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Ji?
Ma'am, if we have to write the numerals of any, just as you said that time, that numerals of which we have learned from NCERT, can we do it from black pen in the exam?
No, only you can use the blue pen, but the tabular form or the flow charts, they will help you present your paper better. Yeah, I have used different colors and highlighted them so as to make the slides more clearly visible.
Ma'am, and for the headings in the table, can we use a black pen in the board exam?
No, you can use a pencil instead of black pen.
And for numerals also, we can use pencil so that it is clearly visible to the
No,
exam.
you can write it in blue ink and then you can make a square. Otherwise, जब आप उसको tabular form में लिखते हैं या flow chart बना के लिखते हैं ना, तो वो number आपको नीचे clearly visible है.
Sorry?
अगर आपने उसको tabular form में लिखा या उसके सब parts बनाए, flow chart बना के लिखा, you are showing the different parts. ठीक है? जैसे अभी आपको दिखाया था, तो अगर आप मेंशन नहीं भी करेंगे तो आपका नंबर क्लियरली विजिबल है इवन इन द ब्लू इंक. उसमें दिखेगा ब्लू इंक से कुछ नजर.
यस मैम, बट ब्लैक इंक से करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं.
नो, वो हम टेबल बना ही इसीलिए रहे हैं कि आपके जो न्यूमरल्स हैं वो टेबुलर फॉर्म में दिख रहे हैं. परसेंटेज यू विल बी राइटिंग द नंबर. ठीक है, कितने हमने लिखा 486, उसके नीचे लिखा बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व, 27 वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरीज और द टाइगर रिजर्व. तो नंबर write the number in the first line and in the second and third line you can write down the whatever you want to mention, biosphere reserve or tiger reserve or wildlife sanctuary. This is just because in biodiversity chapter there is very huge data and you have to remember so many numbers. और जब आप उनको याद कर रहे हैं तो वो present भी होने चाहिए उसी form में. That gives a very good impression and you will be able to score full on full.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to interject, but like I request everyone to answer or ask ma'am questions after ma'am is done with her presentation. Please raise your hand. We will get to all of you. Thank you.
Now next is, let us summarize do's and don'ts, whatever I have explained. This is the summary of that. And I assure you that presentation helps you a lot. If you keep these points in mind, write in a presentable manner, and you will be able to score 10 to 15 more marks by writing the same content, which you are prepared with, which you were planning to write, but just write that in a presentable manner. That will help you fetch more marks. And this is my advice. You must try attempting all your tests, all your exams in this manner, and you can experience the difference in your score. Please try, and you can feel the difference. Now, the last minute preparation and tricks, revision of the points only, flow charts and tables which you have already prepared, go through them. Practice of diagrams is must, and revision of the answers. Now, so dear students, I would like to sum up by saying that exams are the most wonderful things in any human's life. One should never be scared of them. Utilize your preparatory time optimally and always give your 100%. So be careful, aim high, and keep on doing your best. Always start your day with positive affirmations. Speak to yourself every day. I'm the best. I can do it. God is always with me. Never ever feel low. It's okay. Everything will be all right. Just because you took longer than the others doesn't mean you failed. Thank you so much. Hope this session was useful and helpful. Now you can ask your questions.
Yes, ma'am. Someone has asked. Can you please ask ma'am if we can use colors in a diagram?
No, in class 12 board exams, colors cannot be used. This is just to highlight my screen so that it becomes clearly visible. But when you go to college, any course, say BSc, medicine, BDS, any other course after 12th, you are allowed to use colored pens. And I allow using colored pens in class 11 also, so that children, they get a practice or they get an idea how to present. Like there are various cycles in class 11, photosynthesis, in the chapter photosynthesis, C3 cycle, C4 cycle, and cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. I give them a practice using colored pens. They can use colored pens in class 11 final exams also, test, but that is not allowed in board class. And what is the easiest way to memorize data? This is another question. Easiest way is you have to remember, and that data has not changed. आप friends में आपस में जैसे बात करते हैं, you can assign that you are the wildlife sanctuary, your number is this. I am the biosphere reserve, my number is this. This is how we used to learn the scientific names. हमने अपनी class में we used to give a particular scientific name to various friends for 1 week, and everybody will call them with that particular scientific name. तो वो हमें अच्छे से याद हो जाता था. Then next week onwards, we will assign a next scientific name to them. This is how we were able to remember. The whole class was able to remember 250 scientific names, botanical and zoological both. So this is how make a group and assign each friend a number. You are the biosphere reserve, you are wildlife sanctuary, your number is this, and this is the easiest way. Not many numbers are there to remember.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question will be from Kirat Noor. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Please unmute yourself and ask something.
Ma'am just answered my question right now.
Please.
Ma'am, you've answered my question right now, so I'll lower my hand.
Oh, okay. So then the next question can be asked by Aryan Chauhan. Aryan, you had raised your hand. Okay, ma'am. So ma'am, a student has asked, is the NCERT enough?
Yes, more than enough. If you go through the NCERT +1 and +2, I assure you that 95% of your NEET exam, you will be able to solve question. 95% of the question, 95% of the biology questions, if you have gone through NCERT thoroughly, you will be able to attempt. That is more than sufficient. But NCERT को हमने याद कैसे करना है, एनसीईआरटी को हमने प्रेजेंट कैसे करना है, दिस इज व्हाट आई हैव फोकस्ड ऑन. आई हैव टेकन सो मेनी एग्जांपल्स कि आप एक वर्ड भी नहीं छोड़ सकते. व्हाट इज रिटन बिलो द डायग्राम, every time there will be 3 to 4 questions. Even in the first term exam also, you must have seen how many diagram based questions were there, and we always ignore them. Please pay attention to the points, and this is my assurance that you will be able to score much more with the same preparation, just by improving your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question. Any tips on how to deal with parents and parent stress during exam?
Yeah. Any tips too?
To deal with parents' stress during
Uh,
exam.
Okay. If any parent is listening, I always counsel my parents by saying कि अपने बच्चों से अच्छा बोलो. अगर अच्छा नहीं बोल सकते तो बात मत करो. Same is for the students. अगर पेरेंट्स प्रेशर देते हैं या कुछ देते हैं, अगर उनसे बोले कोई भी जवाब दें तो अच्छा बोले. अगर अच्छा नहीं बोल सकते, प्यार से नहीं बोल सकते तो मत बोले, चुप हो जाएं. वैसे भी आप लोग अपने रूम में रहते हैं, बट इफ वी आंसर बैक टू आवर पेरेंट्स, सिर्फ हमें ही नहीं, उनको ही नहीं, हमें भी स्ट्रेस होता है. तो अवॉइड दीज सिचुएशंस एंड ask them. I am asking the parents to have some patience. रिजल्ट आएगा. बच्चे खुद भी बहुत स्ट्रेस्ड होते हैं इस टाइम पे, बहुत प्रेशराइज्ड फील करते हैं, बच्चों की पोजीशन कम समझते हैं. अगर पेरेंट्स हैं और बच्चे हैं, दोनों के लिए यही बात है, थोड़ी सी पेशेंस रखें. इवन दिस विल पास अवे. बोर्ड एग्जाम्स आर नॉट वेरी फार. Have patience, and this is simply just your board exam. And after few years, after 8 to 10 years, you will find that studying is the most easy thing in our life. पढ़ना सबसे आसान काम है. तो डोंट वरी. थोड़ा सा टाइम ज्यादा लगता है हमें, कोई बात नहीं है. हम थोड़ा सा पीछे रह जाते, कोई बात नहीं है. ठीक है. टेक इट एज सिंपली एग्जाम. गिव योर 100%. अपने एफर्ट्स पूरे रखें, उसके बाद जो होता है वो सब अच्छा ही होता है. बेस्ट इज डेस्टिन्ड फॉर यू.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll take one more question, which is how to mold up answers in value-based questions using key terms.
देखिए, in biology in second term, whatever the sample papers I have gone through, what is my observation? A paragraph is written, a comprehension is written, that has and no question is asked from that paragraph. A concept based. Suppose there is transgenic organisms. A paragraph is written on transgenic organisms, लेकिन उसके नीचे जो क्वेश्चंस पूछे गए हैं वो उस पैराग्राफ में से नहीं है. आपको ट्रांसजीनिक ऑर्गेनिजम्स का कंसेप्ट क्लियर होना चाहिए. ये मैंने मेंशन किया था while discussing the marking scheme, that your comprehension will not be having the answers of the question like in English. In English paper we get a comprehension, answers we have to find from that comprehension, but in biology it is not. I have not found a single comprehension from biology sample papers which has all the questions which are asked below. So go through the concept. आपको concept clear होना चाहिए. आपको उस concept के हिसाब से आंसर करना है, whether that is mentioned in the comprehension or not.
Same is true for chemistry also, Vijaya ma'am.
Yes,
It is,
yes.
you know, in comprehension based question, don't expect that it is going to be like an English
Yes.
comprehension.
Hmm.
It is going to
It
be
is
a
totally
passage
different.
given to you, but the answer of the questions will not, may or may not be in the passage. There, your understanding and application of that concept, which is there in the passage, could be there. So in science, the passage-based question it doesn't mean that the passage will have the answer and you read it again and again and you will find the answer. No, not at all.
You are going to score 5 on 5. This is not necessary. You have to go through the concept.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am, for that wonderful session. So with that, we have now reached the end of the stream-based session. Please note that for all those who have registered, the sample papers will be mailed to you. We are very grateful for all the guidance provided by the panel of experts today. We will now be returning to the main room to proceed further with the session. Kindly just leave the breakout room, not the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hello, everyone. We'll just wait for all of the people and experts to return back to the main session, and then we'll proceed with the further program. Thank you.